Welcome to the Nerdist Podcast number 633. This episode is brought to you by Squarespace, who recently launched the latest version of their platform, Squarespace 7, which has a completely redesigned interface. It integrates with Getty Images, Google Apps, 15 new templates, and an incredible feature called Cover Pages, which you can try out now by going to squarespace.com and enter the offer code Nerdist to get a 10% at checkout. Have you been listening to the Jeff Bridges Sleep?
I actually just started checking it out this morning, so I'm only about 5 minutes into looking at it and going through it.
Well, you can't do it in the morning because then you're going to get sleepy.
Yeah, I learned that I'm like, I'm already fucking this up.
Which we have to talk to. Bridges is coming back on this week, so we gotta talk about
get through this. It's gonna be rad.
Maybe we get some other sounds that he likes to listen to.
Ooh.
Maybe some of those will be questions. What if one of them was like, I really like it when you ask me a lot of questions?
He just has a super cut of just questions you've asked, isolated from the podcast.
That would be advantageous for us, but I don't know if that's going to be how it's going to happen.
But you can done a lot of tech work on this.
Oh, I love it when you ask me questions. That wasn't a question, though. That was a demonstrative statement.
Start a trial at Squarespace with no credit card required. Build your website today, and when you decide to sign up on Squarespace, again, use the offer code Nerdist to get 10% off your first purchase. Beautiful design, simple and powerful, 24/7 support via live chat and email, and it's only $8 a month. You're going to get a free domain if you buy Squarespace for the year. So thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this episode of the Nerdist Podcast. Now, Kyle, I talk a lot about stuff that I'm promoting, like the Fun Comfortable Tour with dates coming up in Chicago and St. Louis and Boston and New York and Philly and lots of other cities. Go to funcomfortabletour.com. But let's not make this about me, Kyle. We put out the word that if you email your event to events@nerdist.com, then we'll just start using this as a platform to promote stuff that people want to talk about. What do you got on the events page,
Kyle?
Kyle?
I've been tearing through, and I picked 3 for today that I think are pretty cool. Kyle Crocker was a former skipper on a little boat I like to call the Jungle Cruise.
Did you, first of all, amazing. Second of all, did you just pick him because his first name's Kyle and his last name ends with a C?
It's because I'm obsessed with Disney.
Okay, all right.
And he has a whole podcast called The Jungle Cruise, CREWS, where he's talking to old Disney and Jungle Cruise employees and different people who've worked in different parts of the park about what it's like to be an employee at Disneyland and Disney World.
Excellent.
I am super into Disney lore, and like he's had people who like worked there from like the 60s all the way through to now. So it's an evolution firsthand.
Great. What else you got?
I got Pontius Rundqvist. I think I'm saying that right, from Sweden. He just completed his first feature film. He started working on it when he was 16.
You don't
He's
say.
21 now.
What is that?
And it took him all these years, and his film is called a real blues, a modern blues story.
All right.
Sort of a David Lynch, Twin Peaks thing.
And where can people see it?
It is on his website, which is amodernbluesstory.com.
All right. What else? You said there were 3. That was 2.
And I got my last one is Daniel Imke runs a new show called The Stand-Up Hour in Hotlanta. And the show...
You know people from Atlanta hate it when outsiders
that my
call it
girlfriend
Hotlanta.
is from Georgia and gets very upset constantly when I refer to it, which is why I exclusively call it that now.
Okay.
You know, Hotlanta, where How Stuff Works is from. But on the shows, the first one's on February 4th. It's located at the Midtown Tavern and starts at 8:30, and it's a new monthly hour-long showcase for all the local acts going to Atlanta. And hey, guy who I've just promoted, I'm coming there in May, so maybe you and I should talk.
Oh, so you want to get stage time?
Maybe.
What if he's like, hey, thanks for the promo. Send me a tape. Like he's got to check out.
Then I'll just start disparaging his name.
What?
I will unpromote.
Oh, my God. Kyle, I've never seen this side of you before.
That's what happens when you come between me and a gig, bro.
That's Kyle Clark with the Clark pages. Oh, God. We're not going to call it the Clark pages. But that's going on in the Nerdist community around the country and around the world right now.
There's some cool stuff going down.
Check those out, and we'll keep doing this. Events@nerdist.com with your event. This episode is Pauly Shore, which I worked at MTV at the same time as Pauly, so I was there at the tail end of that phenomenon. And
you guys sound like mob dons when you talk, like just back and forth.
It was.
It's definitely got a mob feel.
But I always really wanted to have a lengthy conversation with him because A, we were at MTV at the same time, and there's just not a lot of us in the world who had that kind of weird fun experience. But his was way crazier than mine was, being I guess what I'm just going to call the sidekick on Singled Out. But Pauly also, his growing up at the Comedy Store in that period of time,
Jesus Christ,
this whole time I secretly brought him on just to mine him for old Comedy Store stories. I'm like, tell me more.
You could tell the deeper he got into telling Comedy Store stories because all of us just kept leaning closer and closer.
But he continues to be a super sweet guy, and he was very nice to me, and I'm very. I always, Comedy Store is one of those places where I always go like, I gotta go perform there more. So I want to start performing at the Comedy Store more. I think it's the Comedy Store is like way come back. Like it
sure has.
It's a hot room now.
That roast battle, man.
He's Pauly has a show on Showtime, a documentary called Pauly Stands Alone. He also started a podcast called Pauly Shore's Interested, which I guess I'll probably do. He asked me to do it, and I guess Marin's been on, and a bunch of other people have been on. So I'll do it. And that's it. So it's Nerdist Podcast number 633, again, brought to you by Squarespace. Go to squarespace.com, enter the offer code Nerdist to get 10% off your new Squarespace site. Here we go. Katie, start the thing.
Now entering Nerdist.com.
Well, please talk to us for an hour now.
So we were talking about our siblings before you got here.
Yeah, we were just talking about not getting along with your siblings.
Do you have a siblings?
I have a half brother, and he's
you
great.
You get along with them?
We get along, yes.
Yeah.
We share a father, and we get along. But we didn't really grow up together.
Right.
We got close later on in life, and so by that point we had sort of worked out.
Maybe that helped.
Yeah, we didn't have to grow. We didn't have like the growing pains of kind of crashing into one another as we were developing our personalities.
I was driving over here and I was trying to think of the last time I bumped into you.
I don't know what
was it 3 Arts, right?
If it was, then that would have been probably at least 14 years ago.
Jesus Christ!
Oh shit!
So how many siblings do you have?
Well, first of all, I want to say congratulations to him. I haven't, we come from the same.
Yeah,
we come from the same mesh. You know what I mean?
And I think.
So when did you start at MTV?
94.
94.
And so you were still there, but you were close. You was about the time where you were about to leave.
Yeah, I was there from like 90 to 95.
Right.
Yeah. What did you host?
Singled Out.
Oh, you hosted. Was that with Jenny?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. I just saw her in. I did. What did I do? I did her show in.
Was she doing a serious?
Yeah, she does a
XM
serious
show?
thing in New York. It was pretty cool.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I always found everyone to be very nice, and then the couple of times that I saw you at events, you were very, very sweet to me, and I always felt like a weird outsider there. Maybe everyone felt this way, but I just felt like I felt like I was trying to force myself into the MTV vibe, and it was very much not it wasn't really my. I felt very uncomfortable the whole time.
But yeah, did you how long did you do Singled Out for?
Almost 4 years, like 3.5 years.
Yeah, that was a hit show though.
Yeah, it was on.
And was it just you or just Jenny, or it was both of you guys?
We were both on, and then Jenny left,
guys,
and then Carmen Electra took over for like a year.
But you had a big run on MTV.
We did, yeah.
But you did. Didn't you do like a lot of different things?
I did, but I didn't pop on MTV really because I think I don't know. I mean, really, it was like I was just kind of like
like trying to force
myself into this what I thought was supposed to be like, I have to be cool, and I was really just a nerdy kid that was trying to express.
That's why you're on the Nerdist now.
That's why
it all makes sense.
It all worked out.
Whoa, bro!
But at the time, I couldn't figure out I just didn't know myself well enough, so I didn't know what my voice was.
Yeah.
And I had
it is a MTV is a very it's a full on. It's like the mafia, especially back then. It was like to try to get in on it.
Yeah,
just to try to get in on. I mean, I had that same problem when I first started.
Really?
Oh yeah, for sure. I had a fucking. I can swear.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
No, I had a really really difficult time when I first started on MTV. It was I was nervous. It was live. It was spring break. Corey Feldman was the man. Me and Christian Slater were trying to get laid, and no one, and all the girls like Corey Feldman. It was the best. I remember sitting with Christian Slater in my hotel room at the Marriott, and we're going, "This fucking is terrible."
How come everybody's having sex with Corey Feldman?
That's my best. So, but and then I did a comic thing, a stand-up thing, and it did really bad. And then I was doing. What was
the stand-up thing?
It was like in a bar or something. It was like remember when they used to do the Young Comedians, or Mario Joyner was hosting it?
Yeah, he did half-hour comedy hour, right?
So it was like that, but it was like at spring break.
Oh, wow.
I wasn't ready. Just like you said, you weren't ready.
Yeah.
Like I didn't feel like I was ready. And then I went back and finally, eventually, did what I did over there.
Yeah, because I saw everyone I thought had a very well-defined voice, character of all the sort of pantheon of VJs, and even going back pretty far. Like I always loved Kevin Seal because he was always such an
awesome
oddball.
Yeah.
And so he was the guy that I gravitated to the most. But when I started working there, it was you and Kennedy and Bill Bellamy and
hey, does your audience? I mean, I know your audience right now. Do they know you from that time, or do you even talk about it?
Some people do. Yeah, I don't care to talk about it, but some people do.
Yeah,
it's people in a certain age range do. And then, years later, I would go to work at G4, which doesn't exist anymore, and people were like,
right.
I watched you back in the day at G4. I'm I don't think you know what back in the day is. But I never felt, I always felt everyone had their own voice, and, yours was certainly one of the strongest, and I just felt like, I'm just a guy, I don't know what I have to offer.
But this thing that you have now, I mean, every time I mention people that I'm coming to see you, people have really, this is huge for you.
Oh, yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun.
And I talked to your producer. Tell me your name again, Katie Levine. Again. And she was telling me that you were one of the first ones to kind of break on, and your consistency 4 or 5 years doing this.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
This
is our fifth year.
That's sick. But that's sick, man.
But it was just sort of an interesting lesson of trying to fit into other people's thing and then going, I'm just going to do my own thing that I'm comfortable with. But it took a long time to figure that out.
Right. Well, that's what the internet and this whole world has been able to do right? And for me, I'm kind of like 10 steps back. I'm like, oh shit, I got to tweet. You know what I mean? I got to do all this stuff. And I'm like, all right, I'll do it. So now I'm kind of doing it. And I'm kind of like, I don't want to say I'm late in the game, hopping on this whole world. I've been doing a podcast for about, 4 months now. It's been going good, and then we're moving over to podcast one.
Okay, cool.
Which Norm says, "What's up?"
Yeah, tell Norm I said hello.
Yeah, for sure. And so it's it's similar to the old shit we used to do back in the day. Interviewing people, talking to people, getting into people. So I kind of did that already back when I was on MTV.
There's so many things that I want to ask you about. I mean, first of all, your lineage is such a treasure trove for a comedy nerd. Like I am. Going back even farther before MTV. Did you literally grow up in the Comedy Store?
Yeah, I mean, I talk about it when I go on stage because I still perform there. I go on stage there. And, I come out and the first thing I say, not always, but most of the time the first thing I say is I've been here since I was 4.
Jesus.
You know what I mean? I know Louis C.K., he filmed his last special there probably about a week or two ago, and I was backstage with him, and he was telling me we were in the backstage and we were staring at the stage, from kind of the comics point of view, and he told me that that Chris Rock had taken him to go see George Carlin in this room, and Louis C.K.'s like, yo, I got to do a fucking special here, and he did the special here, and then I was telling him you got to understand, I've been there since I was 4, so I remember, Buddy Rich.
Oh, wow.
Buddy Rich, my mom used to have him. My mom was fucking awesome, dude. I mean, she's still alive. She's not well, but back at the time, she was fucking just amazing. I mean, the Comedy Store was it's still doing really well. The comedy boom is it's out there. The other night, it was me, Snyder, Robert Snyder, I think Chris D'Elia, Sebastian, boom, 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 boom. And the main room was electrifying, and it was a really great show. But